Thank you. We are here to protect the wetland resources and to serve our neighbors, as always. This meeting is entirely remote, which means we are recording it on Zoom, and you will appear with your camera unless you shut the camera off, and that will be recorded. We will conduct all of our votes by roll call tonight. And when it is time for public comment or questions, which we will have during this meeting, please indicate that you'd like to ask a question or say something by raising your hand digitally in Zoom or physically on your screen, and wait for me to recognize you. Once you're recognized, please give us your name and address or affiliation if you're a business person, and try to limit your comment or question to 2 minutes. I appreciate if you direct questions through me to, if you have them for applicants or their consultants. We anticipate some public participation, which we welcome on some of these matters, and we'll try to let everyone be heard, but to stick to the primary purpose here, which is to protect wetlands and not zoning and other the terrain covered by other town boards and commissions. I'll alert you when I think we're outside the remit of wetlands protection. Finally, we have a chat function here in Zoom, but please use it exclusively for technical issues. It does not become part of the permanent record, so we don't want substantive questions or comments in there. I think that's it for preliminary, so I'll call the roll and we'll get going. Commissioners first, Vice Chair Sari Oseason.
Here.
Dr. Henry Ottinger.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Dr. Gordon Turner.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Jeffrey Bodmer Turner.
Here.
And Mr. David Lumsden.
Here.
And I am Steve Gang, Chair, so we have all members present and accounted for. Also, we have with us tonight our Conservation Administrator, Bethany Barstow, and perhaps, I'm not sure, our Director of Land Management, Mark Resnick. There are likely to be several other town officials appearing on distinct matters here. The first order of business is a very important one, and I'm delighted to announce that we have a candidate step forward to fill the impending vacancy, a big seat left by when, I believe at the end of the month, Sari's term winds up and she rides off into the sunset over the wetlands, presumably. Anyway, please meet Jim Hoffman, resident of Manchester, and by background a real estate expert and also a farmer. So I believe a man who can make significant contribution to us and to the town, and I think we'll also enjoy working together. Jim, if you don't mind, would you introduce yourself and say a few words about why you're here and joining the CONCOM?
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for the introduction. And some of you I have appeared in front of before because you guys reviewed my project on Eaglehead, which I am now sitting in. So it's been a huge success story from our perspective, and appreciate all the time the committee puts in on every project, and that certainly helped draw me to the idea of trying to serve on the Conservation Commission. My wife and I are originally from Wisconsin. I attended University of Wisconsin. She's a Georgetown person. We spent most of our time in Wellesley in this area. I took a job with Wellington Management in Boston and was there for many years. I retired in 2012 as a partner running their real estate group. My only public service was earlier in my career. I worked for the state of Washington Investment Board, where I ran their real estate group, and got exposed mostly to private real estate. And as Steve mentioned, along the way, I bought some property in the state of Oregon, it's part conservation, part a commercial blueberry and hazelnut orchard, which I'm very passionate about. Um, you know, I can really take a lot of time on that, so I'm not going to, but I do have some decent experience in agriculture as well as a passion for conservation. So I'm really you know, honored to be involved and feel it's a great opportunity to give back to the community. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. And I know this will seem a little sudden to most of my colleagues, but I can promise you, you're going to enjoy getting to know Jim. And assuming the select board doesn't find anything secret in his past or something, look forward to him joining us next month.
We look forward to seeing you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on to business. We're going to open our public hearing and hear a notice of intent, which is continued for 48 Central Street, Mass DEP 39-926, map 44, lot 19. This is Richard Bedell's proposed construction of a garage, site improvements and mitigation. Who is here tonight for this?
For the record, Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental. And if I could share my screen, Bethany, that would be great.
Okay, I gave permission, so it should work.
Perfect. Since the last meeting we had with the commission, we looked into the easement. The easement became an issue. We got an email from the planner, Mr. Resnick, and it's their desire that we not intrude into the easement. So we redesigned the garage. We shifted the proposed garage outside the utility easement. The stairs that come down from the upper level are going to be removable so that if the town does need to get into that easement, they can do that. And I'll show that to you on the plan. We still end up with a net decrease of 213 square feet of impervious surfaces in the no build zone. An increase of only 18 square feet in the outer 100. And then a net reduction of 1,256 square feet in the floodplain. So this is the revised plan, and both Leticia Oliveira from Moore & Cameron's here. She's the engineer of record for this project, and Brian Stein, the architect, is also on board. But this is the change. We basically reduce the size of this to a 12-foot width by 22-foot depth. It gets us out of the easement, which I highlighted in the yellow color, mustard color. So it just catches that corner. This stairway we're going to have as a, so I can highlight this. This is the proposed garage stairway to the roof deck. The stairs will be designed so they can easily be removed to allow access to the easement, because they are within the footprint of the easement here. But those will be removable. So if the town needs to get into the easement, they can do that. And these are the numbers. We're still a reduction of 926 square feet of impervious surface in the no disturb zone. A reduction of 213 square feet in the no build zone, and just an increase of 18 square feet in the increase in the outer buffer zone. So We think we've met the intent of the bylaw and the state regulations to reduce, minimize and mitigate for the intrusion. We've reduced things down to the absolute minimum, and hope that the commission can see a way to issue an order of conditions for the project. And we
Thanks.
can questions. Yeah, we're all here, so we can take questions.
Good. Questions and comments from the commissioners first. Anybody?
I just want to mention what DPW commented. In addition to below, I believe they're planning on keeping the stairs on the town easement. It would need to be documented, updated easement and approved by the select board. They technically hold the easement. Just wanted to flag that for the commission.
Good point. Thank you for the reminder. Henry, you're next.
Yep, Mike, we haven't, I'm impressed, we haven't seen a lot of removable stairs. I'm just curious about what's required to move that? Is it one person, two people, a skid steer, a crane? What do you need?
I don't think we'll need a crane. I'm sure it could be done in sections so that it could be done by hand. And they could just be laid off to the side until the work was completed. We don't have the design done, but that could easily be a requirement in the order of conditions to have it be able to be done by hand if that's important. But it could be done by sections. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be able to be.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Anybody else on the commission? I have a couple. One is, what's going to support the stairs? Will there be any footings or other permanent foundation elements?
I don't think so. I think they would be designed so that they would sit on the existing pavement. And that would probably be enough to support that. There are low impact ways to support things like that. One thing we use in the on the dunes and in areas where we're working on barrier beaches is a I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it's basically a concrete block that gets held in with spikes, and that can be temporary. So those can be removed. So it wouldn't be anything that would be permanent.
Thank you. My second question is about the location of the easement. Given how tight the building is on the edge of the easement, how did you draw your lines? Do they come from surveying or from ancient deeds, or where?
It's from the I'll zoom in here. It's from the engineer's plan. So I can take my lines off, but you can see they're probably from maybe Letitia can talk more eloquently about it, but I think they're from the easement language.
From the survey.
Yeah, so I'm Leticia with the Moore and Cameron Group, 66 Elm Street, Danvers, Massachusetts. So all the existing conditions came from a precise field survey from North Shore Survey. All the general notes on the corner, top corner left, on the left.
So this was all,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the easement lines come from the deed.
Yes. One of the reasons I ask about these is that there is a sewer easement line marked with S's and intermittent lines, and then there are the two boundaries around it at a distance of maybe 8 feet. But it's not perfectly in the middle of that boundary. So I'm wondering which of these is the most reliable line. Is it the one marked S?
Yeah, so it's the one within the property. The other one will probably like just whoever drafted this, which was someone from North Shore Survey, they probably just extended the line outside of the property line. but really that should be offset from where the sewer line is. I think it's 4 feet to each side.
Oh, I see. So
Okay, so we're,
the easement line
we're-
should go 4
It's-
feet on each
exactly.
side of this, yeah.
Yeah,
all right, so the fact that it doesn't sit in the center of the other two lines is just a matter of draftsmanship. The actual distance is 4 feet on either side.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Why does the structure need an exterior stairway?
To get down from the roof. So on the roof is a roof deck. And so there's a landing here. There's a landing here. And then the stairs down.
And there's no access from the building to the roof deck?
There is, Brian Stein from Van Stein, if I may. There's one
you.
door that goes out from a living space to the deck above kind of the basement level, lowest level. That will continue out over the garage and onto the roof deck. But you have to go back through the house, back towards the front of the house and out the stairs you see on the left there near the driveway and down. It's not, a direct access to that deck from outside.
Gotcha. Is there a fire code reason for that exterior stairway or other
No,
regulatory requirement? Okay.
no.
The next question, Mike, is for you folks. I don't remember seeing among the alternatives you discussed a suggestion from one of the attorneys for on a butter, which is an alternative of placing the garage flush with the existing building, or nearly flush, I should say, whatever allows a turning radius.
Well, yeah,
The advantage of that could be to bring the whole structure, including the stairway, further away from the protected zones and also out of the easement.
true, but I think it has to do with the turning radius to get into the garage.
There's mostly about that, and then there's living space on that level that the garage is on in the house there's a bedroom on the right side of this plan, there's a living space, family room on the left side of that plan, and then an entryway in the middle that have, windows and so forth. And I believe there's no window on the right side in that bedroom, so we need an egress window out of that. Basically where the garage would be up against it.
Yeah, so you'd have to provide for code some other method of getting out of the level.
Correct. And it's also, the third thing is just the aesthetics of the whole thing as well.
Yeah, no, we're not in charge of aesthetics, but obviously
I am.
when you are, and when aesthetics conflicts with wetland protection, where our inclination goes. So just to review what you said about egress, it wouldn't be sufficient to be able to go into the garage from the lower level?
Not from that bedroom, no. Bedroom needs an egress window. Or a door that goes out directly to the outside.
Okay. Anybody else on the commission? David?
Yeah, Steve, I've got a question. I'm concerned about rising sea levels, and I was wondering, did we receive any data on what the MLLW is, the mean lower low water level is on that site? In other words, there is data out there on 19-year average of what the mean low water level is. And my concern with
What are
flooding
you asking, David?
I'm wondering what the level of that garage floor is going to be. How much above the mean low water level will that be? Will it be subject to flooding?
Mean high, you mean?
Well, you could give me the mean high as well. if you have that data.
The floor of the garage will be just above elevation 10, which is
I
the
mean,
flood.
mean high is usually around elevation 4.5.
Well, according to some data I'm looking at right now on the sheet I'm looking at, this, the winter storm of 2014 had a height of 14.57 feet above the MLLW.
Well, that was probably the result of storm surge.
Low.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
What, shouldn't we be planning for the eventuality of rising storm surges?
Well, we can't design for storm surge. We can design, and we're required to design for the elevation 10 100-year flood. So that's what we have to meet, and that's what this is designed to. And we're mostly out of it. This is just that little bit of corner now that was in it.
It's all above it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, obviously storm surge is a big deal and climate change is a big deal, but we can't design for the worst case scenario, you know.
so you say the garage floor is at what elevation did you say? Is that?
And
But elevation 10,
Minimum
Yeah.
10, be a little bit higher, actually.
yeah.
And our spring high tides regularly reach 11 feet.
Well, elevation and your tide charts are not the same. So they're elevation 10 and a half with the floor thickness probably is what this is going to be, is above your 100-year flood elevation, which is on the same datum.
Doesn't seem to square with what I'm looking at for figures.
They're different datums.
They're different datums, exactly, yeah.
Are you saying that the storm surge is not going to be coming into that garage floor level
Well, the way,
regularly?
yeah, so storm surge varies with the intensity of the storm. So your southeast storms, in this case, because this is sort of a southeast facing aspect, is going to have more impact on these on the shoreline here and all along the shoreline, not just this site. So, you know, whether there's 3-foot storm surge, 8-foot storm surge, 1-foot storm surge. I live up in Newbury on the Salt Marsh here on the Great Marsh, and we had those, I forget what year it was a few years ago, but we had some March storms that came out of the southeast, and we had 3 feet of storm surge, and I had salt water in my lawn, but that's happened twice in 10 years. So the storm surge is, you know, it varies with the intensity of the storm, the direction of the storm. There's a lot of variables.
So when you say a 3-foot storm surge, what you're really telling me it would be 3 foot above the 10-foot scheduled level for that garage.
Well, it would be 3 feet above the, depending, so it depends when the storm hits too, right? If it hits at low tide, you're not going to see that. If it hits at high tide and it's a super high tide, like a 9-foot tide, 10-foot tide, then you're going to have the worst impact. So all these variables work into it, and you know, we can't design for all those things, right? So we're
Right.
we're directed to design to the 100-year flood elevation, which is elevation 10 in this case.
Yeah. Suffice to say, David, that the neighbors and I personally can testify to storm surges and tides flooding that parking area at least once and probably twice in the last 10 years. January of 2024, I'm thinking probably twice in a week, water came up to above the level of the existing pavement.
That's last year.
Correct. So the 100-year concept is criticized heavily, but it is the rule, the AE zone. Can we move on to Henry's question?
Yeah, Henry?
Thanks, Mike. I just want to make sure that the floodgates are still, or tide gates are still in the garage. No changes since the last plan.
Yep, no changes.
Perfect.
Yep,
Awesome.
right here, yeah.
That's great. I think that'll help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gordon, you're next.
Thanks. I understand that prior to this application, there was a previous application that had been denied for a garage. Can you comment sort of how far we are now from that design and what's different?
It's dramatically different. The garage, I maybe Brian
Half the size.
remembers. I don't remember the width of it. What was
It was 24. It was half the size.
It was double, so we cut it in half.
That's all been in this round, but prior, like a couple of years ago, was it also that the case? Okay.
Yep.
We didn't have 24 feet this time around.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Steve, we're
Let's
at
see your
the
question.
20-minute mark for the applicant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
excuse me.
Let's move to, can I, Bethany,
Oh, sorry.
it's all right. I see a comment in
Yeah, I was
the
about to
chat, which
say-
is really a question. I'm just
The-
going to say, please don't put substantive questions or comments in the chat. Raise your hand. I
Yes,
see your
that's
hand,
what,
John. So
that's what
we
I was
shift
about to
gears.
say.
public comment. Thank you, Bethany. And let's start with John Bartlett. You identify yourself and go ahead. You'll need to unmute, John. John, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Just hit the unmute button at the bottom, please. It says audio, you just click.
Sorry. Pardon me,
There
can
we
you hear
go.
me now?
Yes.
That's better. Yes, loud and clear.
Sorry. I'm a little old. I'd like to do this in person, but we're all pretty busy, so I guess we have to do it like this sometimes. This is very typical of this property. Someone comes in, an investor, they turn all the outdoor spaces into indoor spaces, and then when they sell it and changes hands, we went through this 5 years ago, and they assured us that this was the one time they wanted to do stuff like this. And then it changes hands, and then they want to add decks, and then they wonder where their garages went and their decks and patios went. They brought them all inside, and this is very typical. I used to visit a friend who had a commercial space in the basement, Kevin Millar Cowboy Boots, and that used to be a garage down below the building. There used to be multiple units there, small housing units, and then it was converted into a giant single-family home, and the guy's never there, and he just wants to expand, and then he's going to sell it for $5 or $6 million. The rest of us on the harbor enjoy the view and rather minimalistic properties that we have. And if we just allow everyone to convert these multi-unit buildings into big single-family homes that people don't even live there, my real question is, there is a no build line and a 10-foot FEMA line. Why would we even think about encroaching on the no build line? I'm sure the no build line also incorporated the views of the 15 or 20 units that surround the harbor. If everyone stays behind the no build line, we can all see the harbor and we can all see our neighbors. If we encroach upon the no build line, we encroach upon each other's view, and it'll be a race to the waterfront. And only 5 or 10 of us will get to the waterfront. The other 15 or 20 will be blocked from seeing the ocean. So I'm sure the no build line had more than just the no build. It had a way of sort of tempering expansion into the harbor. Years ago, the whole harbor was a swamp and marsh. And at some point within the 100-year flood issue, everyone jumped into the harbor, whether it's the Legion Hall, the Town Hall parking lot, Masconoma Park, or throughout the Back Bay of Boston. We should adhere to the no build line. And why don't we wait it out 100 years? If we don't get a flood in 100 years and we want to change the no build line for our great grandchildren, or after this guy's been living there for 10 years, it's fine with me. but every 5 years, this property wants to turn this whole inner harbor
Yeah,
into
Mr.
one.
Bartlett, I've let you go. I'd
Thank
let you
you.
go
Bye-bye.
significantly more than 2 minutes. I think we get your point. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And I'll see you in 5 years.
Unfortunately,
No, I'm sorry.
unfortunately, we appreciate you coming. Fortunately, most of what you're talking about is outside our purview. We're not, we protect wetlands, which includes the coastal bank.
Yeah.
Just a footnote on why we have a no-build zone. No-build is a nickname, as is no disturb, for zones that are closer, buffer zones, so-called, closer to the resource we're trying to protect. And that means we have stricter rules. It doesn't mean that you can't alter anything in the no disturb or in the no build. You can actually build in the no build. In some cases, you can actually build in the no disturb. But the rules you have to follow, the mitigation, the standards of performance you have to meet are much stricter, and that's what we're trying to uphold here.
So thank you
for your comment.
Thank you for explaining the no build. It's more of a
We also have a comment from 42 Central Street. If you're able to unmute and identify yourself, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. My name is Kim Hofeld, and my husband and I have lived at 42 Central Street on the Inner Harbor for the past 20 years. I appreciate the opportunity to go on record to express our strong opposition to this proposal. And we've been following the many plans that have come forward over the years and through multiple ownerships. And I note the term estimate on these blueprints. So I struggle to understand how the addition of any structure in these areas could result in less impervious area. And this is the first version that I've seen that actually attempts to make that type of claim. And I understand the statement about we can't design for storm surge, but the reality is this is our life on the Inner Harbor. I agree with David. The numbers being cited tonight do not match the research. They do not match the grants that Manchester's received, and they do not match the reality that we live here on the Inner Harbor. And it's not just 2014 that was cited. You'll note the video that's playing behind me as my background. That's the flooding that happened, and I'm just right next door. I'm equidistant to that parking area in terms of what we're looking to build. This is in 2028. It was even worse in 2023, and we had additional flooding in 2024 that actually went well beyond what we've seen to date. So on a normal occurrence without storm surges, we have at least a 10-foot tide sway between low and high tide, not even adding the conversation about the storms. So I appreciate the explanation about the no build zone and the no disturbance zone, but it exists to protect environmentally sensitive areas, mitigate these flood risks, and preserve the ecological integrity of our coastal region and protect those of us with homes here on the Inner Harbor. As I mentioned in past written testimony on this particular project, Manchester by the Sea was awarded a federal resilience grant in 2024 after that big flood. And what came out of it was the assessment of climate risks and flood water vulnerabilities. Those findings emphasize the need for increased proactive measures to protect our coastal infrastructure and the natural resources, which we saw play out just this year in the annual town meeting, where residents of Manchester voted to amend and make more stringent the town's floodplain regulations and adopt the updated FEMA flood maps and the flood insurance study. These updates reflect a continued recognition and growing concerns regarding the very real flood risks facing our community. Permitting this garage construction contradicts that vote and the town's commitment to enhancing floodwater resilience, and flood safety. In fact, there was a newly added section, 10.2.1, which creates even stronger language for citing public safety, new hazards of emergency response, and adds references to what I call out here verbatim as number 5, reduce damage to public and private property resulting in floodwaters. Number 4, avoid loss of utility services.
Favorite time for this
Sorry to
resident,
interrupt.
please?
I'm almost done.
We're way past the 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
All right, well,
Can you wrap up in a sentence or two?
I can, yes. I'll skip the citing. You have that in writing. But I would,
Yes.
in light of the easement and everything else, I'd ask you to reject this proposal. This proposal does not reflect or present any compelling hardship that would justify why we would do this or why we'd make any of these changes to the regulation. I urge you to listen. If you're not going to listen to us as the abutters, listen to the voting public that just this past year are recognizing in town meeting that this is a concern that we all have.
Point is taken. Thank you. Thanks for your contribution. Mike Starella, I think your hand was up next.
Yeah, it was. And I just want to acknowledge that Kim pointed out many areas
Could you give us your address, please?
On 119 Pine Street.
Thank
And but I think this concerns everybody because of the water rise that is now occurring. I mean, I got to look at the FEMA maps last night, in fact, at a town-sponsored event at the high school talking about the downtown area. And the FEMA maps in 2030 said it will be a regular occurrence to see lots more water in this area. And in 2050, it will even be more disastrous it will have a new daily higher tide. Now, the one thing I think that Kim pointed out was this new article that's been, I mean, if you read that article 10.2 in detail, the article actually says everything why you should turn this down. And
Yeah.
You look at another piece of this, you have a sewer easement, you have a shared driveway, and you now have a removable staircase easement. What could go wrong? I mean, see this picture where the flood is 5 or 7 feet above where it's supposed to be. You can't even get the stairs down, and the sewer line is broken. I mean, I would clearly believe that the firemen are going to sit there and watch that until the tide goes down. And frankly, the sewer has already destroyed the harbor. So in my view, I would take a look at section 10.2 floodplain and take those words to heart about how we should vote this down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. We'll take Richard Mastranza next.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can. Just identify yourself and go.
Richard Mastranzi, 44 and 46 Central Street, direct abutter, shared driveway with the applicant. I'm going to try to keep things just focused on what you guys are talking about, of course, which is just, the environmental impacts. And, I understand that there's like the word of the law that you have to plan for a 100-year storm. But as many people have pointed out, there have been multiple times in the past 10 years where we've had, 100-year storms. And at least 3 times that we've exceeded any kind of previous 100-year storm scenario where the entire backyard of my property, which is much larger and contains far more pervious surface, was completely underwater, and so was the applicant's property underwater as well. And I think that, considering that we're dealing with this new idea of removable staircase and all this sort of thing and an easement, I think this needs to go to the select board before I think we can really weigh in on anything else with this project. Just leave it at that.
Good point. In fact, you're correct. The select board owns and controls this easement, so they will have to make a separate determination about it, separate from ours. Thank you for that contribution.
Thank you for your time.
We have next somebody named nickname OGB. Can you unmute, identify yourself, make a comment up to 2 minutes?
Yes, Steve, I'm sorry. It's Russ Brown. I'm sorry for the alias. And I just want to very quickly, to speak to the provisions of the Manchester regulations governing the application of the wetlands protection bylaw. As both you and David have very aptly pointed out already, that the alternatives analysis presented here is insufficient in that it is clear from just simply looking at this plan that house can simply be moved back flush against the main, that garage could be moved back flush against the main residence. And it can be accessed by simply pulling into the yard and then backing into the garage. There's absolutely no reason why that garage has to be inserted into the no-build zone or the stairway. So the stairway is not required because they can access the top of the deck through another means. And I do not believe, and I defer to Mr. Stein, he's an expert on the code, but I just would like to ask him, I am not aware of any code that, prevents, that requires a second access from an above ground bedroom. And, if there is a code that requires that, I'd like to understand exactly what that code is, or that prevents a second access through a garage. So I don't believe that either the parking or the code provisions prevent putting that garage flush against the house for any reason. So they haven't satisfied the requirements of our regulations that that require that they have no practical alternative to be out of the no build zone. And then, of course, David spoke to the storm surge, as we spoke to before, that having that building thrust more towards the no build zone sets up a situation where there's an increased probability of diversion of storm surge onto Chris Williams's property next door. I didn't say that. I represent Chris Williams and Lisa Martinez, who are the neighbors. I'm sorry I didn't state that, but that's it.
All right. Thank you. That's just over 2 minutes. Perfectly done. We appreciate the contribution. Lisa Martinez, you're next. Please unmute, identify yourself for the record, and give us a 2-minute comment.
Sure. Hi, my name is Lisa Martinez, and I'm here with Christopher Williams. We are direct abutters to 48 Central. And I respectfully want to put it into the record that nothing should be built anywhere near or on a sewer easement. Period. It will restrict access in an already tight area. The blueprint is an estimate where the easement is. And it would be helpful to have the town to check if it's accurate, have a surveyor out there. Also, they had to dig up the properties before for the sewer, and they had to take 4 feet on each side. I wish I had pictures, but they tore up our whole entire backyard. And then the question becomes, if there's a building there, where do the trucks go, and whose property does that go on? Because you cannot now fix the trucks on that property. But it should be built anywhere near the sewer, restrict access. The town sewer, I'm sorry, we are talking inches and feet here. Why are we taking the word for it since the proposal was submitted? New restrictive bylaws, 10.2 regulations were voted on and passed on at the town meeting. Added, who pays for the damage if the trucks damage the new structure, et cetera, because now it's much tighter when they're trying to access the easement. Why would the town open themselves up to these problems? Why are they going out of their way to accommodate a project that is in the no-build zone and on a sewer easement in a flood zone that is environmentally harmful, put a butter's property at risk, and that would expose the town to unnecessary liability and legal action? How does this decrease the insurance of public safety? It increases, not decreases, threats to life and personal injury. It adds new hazards for emergency response officials. It increases the probability of public emergencies resulting from water quality, contamination, and pollution due to flooding, increases the risk of loss of utility services, which is damaging by flooding, would disrupt or shut down the utility network, and impact regions of the community beyond the site of flooding. And it would increase, not eliminate costs associated.
You're well over 2 minutes now.
Okay, I'm done, almost done with the sentence. And response and cleanup, increase, not reduce damage to the public and private property. And will the town and the taxpayer incur this additional cost? So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, we appreciate the contributions. There's someone else who wants to speak, judging by the outburst. Is there? Please raise your hand or let me know. I am seeing none. Any further question or comment from the commissioners?
Steve?
Yeah,
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
I'd like to understand how this removable stairwell is secured to the building and to the ground. If water is coming up around it and pressing against it in a surge.
I can address that. after what Mike said, I was thinking about it, and we did something similar recently on a house up on Old Neck Road where we have a cantilevered structure to support a deck. We can do the same thing here that supports the landing and the stair just coming right off the house, nothing into the ground actually, other than the bottom stair, which has to rest on the grade. But everything else can be above ground and essentially lifted off in sections when need be. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward
So
until,
Brian,
pretty straightforward until a large chunk of ice comes up and rips the stairwell off.
No, it can be fastened pretty securely. It'll have to be unfastened, obviously, to take it off. I mean, any wooden stair, is there's a lot of stairs around that area. Same thing could happen to them too, but this will be securely fastened to the structure without touching the ground, other than the bottom step.
Brian, just a follow-up question. If you use that approach, would you end up with more permanent structures, shall we call them, overhanging the easement in order to support the stairway?
Most of it would be on the one side where the landing is. That wouldn't have to go out all the way. This, would have to go out part way to catch the landing. We have to make the stair 3 feet wide.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Anybody else before we see if we're ready to close? Olga. You're muted. We can't hear you, Olga.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Since I've been on the commission when the house was first built, and then when they wanted the 2-car garage, historically, it does bother me that this creep into the no-build area. When the house was originally built as a single family, there could have been a garage underneath, and they would not have impacted our no-build area. And so it seems like there's this creep going on, and that's where I'm struggling with this project, because I've had the history of it.
All right, thank you. Is the commission ready to vote on closing this hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Steve,
Did I
can
hear a
you,
motion?
Steve, can you confirm one thing for me?
Go ahead, Gordon.
Sorry, so we can close the meeting. That doesn't mean the project is approved, correct?
Right, we're closing the hearing, meaning we're not going to accept any more information, plans, et cetera. But not make a decision. We can make a decision later in the meeting or immediately or within 21 days, I believe.
Okay, thank you for
I'll
confirming that.
move to close Mass DEP 0390926, 48 Central Street.
I'll second.
I'll second. Thank you. All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Sari?
Aye.
And I am an aye. It is unanimous. With thanks to all the neighbors and others, experts who came to contribute. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move next to, thank you, Mike. We move next to another continued notice of intent for 30 Mill Street, Mass DEP 39-928, map 37, lot 22. The applicant is Louisa McIntosh, and the proposal is to construct a new dwelling in the buffer zone and riverfront.
Hi, good evening. This is Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management. And Louisa is there on the screen as well. I saw Luke was logged on as well. So there they are. The whole team is there. And I just want to share my screen. I'll get right into it. And you should be able to see our revised plan. We went out to the site several months ago now, and there was one thing that was plainly evident was where the former driveway was. This is where that beautiful 40-inch oak tree was, right in here, and there was another large pine directly next to it. The driveway was sort of squeaked right in the middle of those. And it was pretty clear that that was certainly going to impact both trees if left the way it was. After that meeting, Louisa contacted the tree warden who came out to look at the property as well as that large oak tree. It was, one option was to squeak the driveway to the left a little bit and take out the pine tree, but it still was a possibility of impacting the oak tree. And so what we decided on was to just realign the driveway entrance and now bring it in off of Forest Street so that the substantial amount of grading and, construction work around that oak tree is now removed. The one thing that we don't have control over is where the recent sewer and water main construction left the stubs for this property. And the water line is right here, which we can deal with. That's a sewer, and then the water line was put just to the right side of the trunk of the tree. Not the most ideal situation, but that's only going to require a narrow trench to install that water line, and we're hopeful that with the minimal excavation required, that the tree will not be adversely impacted. But we feel we have a much better plan in terms of saving this heritage tree, this beautiful oak tree that's right along the street line. The realignment of the driveway you can see is here's the 200-foot riverfront line, and this was the 100-foot buffer zone line from across the road. And all of this realignment work actually took place outside of jurisdiction. So we had a latitude there to do that without really causing any additional detriment to areas that are in commission jurisdiction. Beyond that, the house hasn't changed. The whole concept of a very tightly designed house and landscape and driveway, that has not changed. It hasn't changed to any large degree. We are managing the roof runoff with rain gardens here and here, and the driveway runoff is managed by a stone infiltration trench along the one side of it. Very minimal lawn around the property in this sort of stippled area here. There's just a little bit of grass around the house here and here. This area here has to be, the grade is altered a little bit, brought up where it drops off a little bit to the rear. So once the grading is complete there, that is going to be reestablished with a short grassland mix. The specification is here, which is a no or low maintenance grass, and the intent is to have that be a small meadow interspersed with the trees that are around the house site. All of this did result in an additional 237 square feet of impact in riverfront area. So a very small increase of riverfront area impact. The chart of your riverfront area calculations, remember this is a riverfront redevelopment project. And the first criteria is we can alter up to the balance of 10% of riverfront area on the property. The site is over 9.7 acres. The amount of riverfront on the site is about 8.17 acres. So we had about 29,000 square feet of potential impact we could have used in addition to the current house site and still be under the 10%. We're much, much less than that. We're down here at the 12,887 square foot impact. So we are well under the 10% criteria. We meet all the riverfront redevelopment criteria. I've gone over that in my original narrative. And so we think we have a better project here now that we have realigned the driveway. We did, as I told you Louisa had a walk with the tree warden. We did survey locate all of the trees within the work area and plotted them on the plan to, most of them are, what I call candlestick pines. They're very tall and slender and only have needles up at the top. 27 of those are coming out, but the tree warden didn't have a ton of heartburn about that. Louisa can convey that conversation better than I, but the gist of it was tall pine trees like that shouldn't be around a dwelling. So didn't have a whole lot of concern with the trees that were going to be removed, but was appreciative of the efforts to take care of this 43-inch oak. So with that revision, we hope the commission appreciates the plan, and we're hopeful that you can see your way to close the hearing and vote for an order of conditions tonight.
Steve, it is very hard to hear what you're saying.
Let me try again.
I omitted your phone, Steve.
Great, I am here. Thank you. Henry, your hand is up. Question or
Yeah,
comment?
just quick question. First comment, Bill, you know what they call those tall pine trees down at the docks? Masts.
I guess something like that.
Question, which is this? Can we, are the low or no mow areas, is that something that we could put some signage on just to keep contractors like from mowing that?
I don't see any problem with that. Louisa, do you understand the suggestion? That it's fairly common practice that the commission requires that there be signage in areas that are intended to be, if we're representing their no maintenance or low maintenance, they want us to carry through on that. So do you have any issue with that, Louisa?
No.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Just that the changes look good.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah, nice job.
meeting with the warden and carrying through.
Yeah, appreciated. I have a question about what's going to happen after you thin the thicket of tall pine trees. Are you going to allow the existing shrubs and anything that happens to wander in to grow, or are there any plantings intended?
No, that your first is exactly what is intended. There's actually a note on the plan here that says selective thinning of existing pines to allow solar exposure and to rejuvenate the shrub canopy below.
Good. I certainly didn't pay any attention to what's under there, but what do you expect to thrive there?
I would expect probably some of the spring ephemerals to better express themselves early in the year. And I believe there was pepper bush in that area that would most likely thrive with less competition and more sunlight. So anything that's in there, I would expect that it would continue to, or at least get better and be more healthy and probably respond better with increased sunlight and less competition.
Maybe some blueberries too.
Nice.
Yep. Well, I was going to ask you about the absence of a planting plan, but I understand it's because you don't have any specific intentions to add material there.
That is correct. You know, the overall 9.7 acre property is fairly well undeveloped. I mean, the existing home site over here is only, I think, on the order of 5,700 square feet of impervious surfaces and previously degraded area. So the remainder of the parcel is just largely wild. And you can see the you know, the minimal footprint for the one additional house over here on this side of the property.
That's great.
Excellent. Other questions or comments from the commission?
Real quick, Bill, what is a trap rock at the beginning of the driveway?
That's a construction entrance or a tracking pad for the construction vehicles. When they leave the property, the wheels have a chance to turn over stone and shed any mud or soil that's on the wheel.
Ah, thank you. I didn't know what it was.
All right, let me ask for any public questions or comments about 30 Mill Street. I'm hearing none. Commission ready to close this hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll move that we close the hearing for DEP file 39-928, 30 Mill Street.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Sari?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Olga?
Yes.
Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Yes.
And I'll make that unanimous, 7 in favor. Thank you, Bill. Thank
All
you,
right, thank
Louisa.
you all
and
for your
family.
time.
This brings us to another continued notice of intent for 35 Coolidge Place, DEP number 39-930, map 28, lot 30. Sorry, that's incorrect, map 3, lot 28. The applicant is Rocky Winds LLC, and this is reconstruction of an existing stairway over Rocky Intertidal Bank and construction of a new patio within the coastal bank.
Hello, everyone. Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental. I'll share my screen. Since the last meeting, we walked the property, and I'll zoom in. There were 2 changes to the plan. Zoom in here so we can see. As you remember, it's the replacement of the stairs and then the patio. We decided, the commission recommended, and we added an additional restoration area here in addition to the one on the other side of the property. This is sort of a low-lying area below the wall that isn't really providing any function. So we decided on the commission's recommendation to return this more to wildlife habitat and pollinator habitat. So we added additional shrubs and herbaceous material in here. And then the other thing we did was we added a note for this wooden fence that's there already to just be replaced in kind. And so those were the changes we had based on the site walk. We can take questions now if you want. But we're hoping the commission.
Anybody on the commission have a question or comment for Mike?
No.
No, I'm pleased with this project.
Yeah, so am I. Anyone in the public?
The
have a
sidewalk
question?
was really helpful to understand what was going on with this. So I'm very supportive of this.
Excellent. Anyone in the public have a question or comment on 35 Coolidge Point Road? I'm hearing none, so commission ready to close?
Yep.
Yes.
I will move we close the hearing on 35 Coolidge Point Road, 39-930.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Olga?
Hi.
Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sari?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Stephen Gang, Larry LaFreniere, thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome, Larry. Thanks for attending. Welcome to Manchester.
Thank you, team.
now we have a new notice of intent from the Plains, Manchester by the Sea. The owner and applicant is Manchester Housing Authority. This is Mass DEP 39-933, map 58, lot 66.
Steve,
This is a rene-
sorry. So I have 37 Bennett coming before that. Is that not correct?
Oh, yeah, it is correct. Mental lapse. This is another continued after the fact, this next case, after the fact notice of intent. DEP file 39-931 for 37 Bennett Street. That's why Mike DeRosa was giving me a hairy eyeball. The applicant is Stephen Wood. This is a renovation of existing outbuilding and preservation of a seasonal gazebo within the riverfront area.
And for the record, Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, I've already shared my screen. And I think at the site walk, the commission had said, you know, just to be consistent, we should add some mitigation for the work that's in the no-build zone. So we prepared a restoration plan here with high bush blueberry, winterberry, and elderberry along the shoreline here to the stream. And then also smooth goldenrod, sensitive fern, and red fescue in the herbaceous layer. Steve's well behind the restoration and wants to see it do well, and he appreciates the commission's time, and we hope the commission will issue a after the fact order of conditions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments from the, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
What's the status of the gazebo? Is that staying in place?
I don't think we had a problem with that at the site visit. It's a very temporary structure.
Well, it also sits very lightly on a forest floor without any disturbance to the leaf litter or other conditions of the floor.
Yeah, there are no footings or anything.
Okay. Just
Other questions, comments? Now from the public on 37 Bennett Street. Hearing none.
Steve, I noticed one thing.
Yes, David.
There's a lot of debris from that outbuilding. It's piled. It looks like it's within the restricted area. I could be wrong. I didn't measure it, but we should be asking for that debris instead of, it's been sitting there for months.
That's brilliant, David. It's been drafted into the special conditions.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good catch. Yep. We'll get to that when we get to voting on the notice of intent, the order's conditions. All right, I'll move we close the hearing on 37 Bennett Street, DEP file 39-931. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Sari?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I'll make that unanimous, 7 in favor. Thank you again, Mr. DeRosa.
Thank you, everyone.
And now it is time to mention a new notice of intent from the Plains. Applicant is Manchester Housing Authority, DEP file 39-933. This is map 58. And this one is reconstruction and maintenance of a bituminous parking lot and sidewalks within the 200-foot riverfront area. And who's here tonight to introduce this?
Hi, my name is Catherine Andrewchuk. I am with Allen and Major Associates, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Manchester Housing Authority. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Where's my share button? My video, I don't believe is working, and I apologize for that. It's been an ongoing issue. But can everyone see my plan?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. So again, I'm Catherine Andrewchuk. I'm with Allen and Major. I'm here tonight on behalf of Manchester Housing Authority. The Manchester Housing Authority has a elderly development located at the Plains. It is a developed site with 6 residential buildings, a maintenance building, and an office building. There are 84 elderly units on this site. It is comprised of bituminous sidewalks that go around the development and a parking lot and landscaped areas. The Housing Authority is proposing maintenance repairs to the existing bituminous sidewalks on site. They are starting to deteriorate and become trip and fall hazards for the elderly residents. Another preventative action that the Housing Authority is taking right now, and to limit any hopefully near future work, is to crack fill and seal the parking lot. That by crack filling and sealing, hopefully again, this is prolonging the life, given the fact that most of the site is within 200 feet of Sawmill Brook. So again, maintenance repairs to the existing bituminous sidewalks. Erosion control measures will be located and installed prior to any work, buffering all of the wetland resource areas. And additionally, silt sacks into the catch basins, and catch basins will be cleaned prior to the project being completed. There is about 650 square feet of disturbance within the 200 feet altogether. But this is a maintenance project, again, for the elderly residents on the site. Are there any questions?
Can you explain the color code?
Yep. So just the buffer, the 30 is the purple is the 30-foot no disturbance. The blue shows the 50-foot no build. The red is the 100-foot wetland buffer, and the green is the 200-foot. And again, this is all previously developed within these setbacks. There is no additional layout or reconfiguration given the layout of what is existing on site.
Excellent, thank you. So the small amount of additional impervious is outside of our jurisdiction, correct?
Yes, and they've been looked at. We've kind of transferred some of that proposed impervious to gravel in the back there, just to keep this a no increase of impervious surface on the site.
Excellent, thank you. Other questions or comments from David?
Thank you for doing this project. As a former chairman of the Housing Authority, I'm very much of an advocate for rehabbing or restoring our elderly housing units here in town. Wondering, where's the funding coming for this project?
This project is in HLC, Executive Office of Housing and Community Livable. Housing and Livable Communities, formerly the DHCD. So it is state funded. It's a state funded project.
Who applied for the grant?
My understanding how these work, the Housing Authority, the executive director works with the state project managers assigned to the different housing authorities, and they make a list of items and repairs that need to be done, and the site improvements come through funding. Every housing authority gets a certain amount of money every year based on the number of units that they have. So less units, less money, but it is it is yearly funding grants. But someone from the state or the housing authority can probably speak a little more intelligently on that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else on the commission, question or comment?
No.
And anyone in the public, a question or comment about the plane, construction and maintenance of the bituminous walkways and parking? I'm hearing none. Commission ready to close this hearing?
Yes.
Can I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move we close the hearing on 0390933, The Plains, Manchester by the Sea.
Second. All those in favor? 3.
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Jeff, Jeff. He's making eyes as best he
Aye.
can. Thank you. Gordon,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
and it's unanimous again. Thank you,
Great.
Catherine and Alan and Majors.
Great, thank you so much.
We come now to two projects which are probably the main event this evening. But before we introduce those, I'm simply going to remind you that this is the Conservation Commission, and our job is to protect wetland resources, not property values or to delve too deeply into engineering alternatives as much as we might like to, nor to be the beauty police. We don't control aesthetics. So I'm going to ask people to limit their questions and comments to things that we can act on as they pertain to wetlands. Thank you for that preliminary. Let me introduce the first one here, which is Mass DEP 39-934 Central Street proposed municipal project to remove the tide gate, so-called tide gate, replace the existing culvert with a 20-foot wide arch culvert, and make minimal roadway improvements. This one's all within riverfront, land under the ocean, coastal beaches, coastal banks, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. The applicant obviously is the town of Manchester. And who, Nate, are you here to speak, or one of the engineers, Chuck?
Yep, Chuck Dam, DPW. I also have Nate DeRozier, town engineer, as well as Rick Canavan from Ty and Bond, who's the design lead on this project. I don't have much to say. This is actually a resubmittal of a project that I believe you guys closed at the last meeting because our order of conditions previously had run out because we hadn't been able to obtain all the funding and then additional permitting that was needed within the time frame on the first notice of intent. So the project is substantially the same, I believe. Like you said, we are looking to replace the culvert, which has been degraded for several years now. We've received a couple different grants, a DOT grant, as well as BRIC and NOAA funding to complete this project, the next one that we'll hear about for the central pond. With that, I guess I'll hand it quickly over to Rick to discuss any of the other ins and outs on as it pertains to the permitting.
So, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. Yep, Rick Canavan. I'm a professional wetland scientist from Time Bond in Worcester, supporting town Manchester. I can share if that helps.
Yes.
I think that would be helpful. Thank you. Yep. As we just heard, the commission already approved, I think 6 years ago, this notice of intent. We issued orders of condition. Those expired after the maximum 3-year lifetime, and we issued a certificate of compliance for non-performance, which is a formality at our last special meeting. Just as a footnote, that action, issuing the official certificate of compliance for not performing the project was just an internal commission matter. It was not open to public comment, which is the reason that we didn't accept any public comments at our last meeting. This is the time, obviously, for that to happen. But first, let's hear from the wetlands engineer.
So yes, again, Rick Canavan with Time Bond, professional wetland scientist. This is an overview of the two projects that we're presenting sequentially. So the specific project we're talking about is replacement of the bridge at Central Street over Sunnow Brook. So that's the sort of purple shape here is the limit of work for that project. This, hopefully familiar with the existing conditions. There's a culvert crossing in the existing, and then the tie gate where the gate has been opened, but the concrete structure is still in place, is on the downstream face of the existing culvert at Central Street. The proposed work is the demolition of the existing both concrete culvert and tide gate structure that's no longer functioning, and replacement with a 20-foot concrete arch span. So in this picture, there's water control on upstream and downstream stride of the crossing that would allow water to flow through the work area in a contained space and not be exposed to construction equipment, disturbed soils, and that to keep the water clean and flowing through the project site during construction. It's full traffic closure, and some images of the replacement. So this is the existing bridge opening and the proposed bridge opening. So it's a expansion of the hydraulic capacity to allow for better tidal flow into the pond area. That improves the hydraulics of the opening, improves the ecology of the upstream pond and stream. The project includes there's not a lot of space for stormwater improvements, but there's a new deep sump catch basin where my mouse hand is. There's some traffic safety and pedestrian safety improvements in an intersection area. It's a very tight project space, so there's not a lot of opportunities for other mitigation, but the main mitigation is the significant improvement of stream flow through the existing crossing from existing to proposed conditions. So I think I would probably end up leaving it at that. And, you know, if there's, I understand there's going to be a lot of questions, we can get into specifics, and I'll keep the plans up if folks have specific areas of the bridge that they're looking to discuss. If that.
Good, thank you. That's a great introduction. Well, I'll start with questions or comments from commissioners. Henry.
Thanks, Steve. Rick, do you have any estimate of the flow of fresh water out of Sawmill Brook into the harbor at that point?
Not off the top of my head. So the project has done a hydrology and hydraulics analysis. So there's, and I'm, you know, like I said, I'm a wetland scientist and not a professional engineer. So, you know, clearly it's going to vary seasonally, you know,
sure,
rain events, the watershed of Sawmill Brook is going to be discharging, you know, after the bridge is replaced, the same as you know, as it does today. But you know, some of the advantages of having increased opening is that you have, with more space for the water to flow, you have less velocity. That's part of what's helping the fish passage through this section, especially where it's like in this narrow sort of improved area by Central Street versus the pond or the harbor to the south. But you know, other than like, well, I guess my answers would be no, or it's very variable based on rainfall.
Okay, but somebody at Time Bond has that information, right?
Right. Yeah. So the hydraulics, you know, a bridge hydraulics study includes, you know, measurements based on the drainage area and coverage in the watershed, and it provides flow rates based on period, like they refer to it as like a, you know, 50-year storm or 100-year storm, and you heard tonight but those are based on expected rainfall frequencies and the conditions in the watershed.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll add
Thank
that the H&H report is on the town website. So we have a Central Street Culvert website dedicated page, which has numerous reports that go through kind of all the background study going back to like even 2016 when the town received CZM grants to do all the Sawmill Brook study, you know, evaluating all of the reaches all the way up to the headwaters, and really laid out kind of a program to help flooding in Sawmill Brook. And really, this is kind of the first project of that full program. So there's, you know, quite a bit of information on our town website that details kind of the whole methodology and all of the background that how we've gotten here.
Cool. Thanks, Nate.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Nate. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I'm sorry,
I'm
could people
hearing
just
none.
mute? It's really, I could barely hear Nate. So could everyone that's not speaking mute, please?
Yes, we can try that. Also, Nate, you might want to speak up. You were a little garbled and on my screen frozen for a moment. All right, let's open to public comment and questions about this. We're dealing first with this notice of intent for the bridge replacement. And we'll start with Mr. Nahadas.
Oh, good.
Hi, good evening. So from the conservation perspective,
Could you just identify your name
oh,
and address
yes,
for the record?
Dean Nahadas, 48 Beach Street. So when I was looking at the plans, I saw a very little difference in the high tide elevation and the flood, 100-year flood. The tide was actually higher than the flood, which made me question, why are we widening the culvert? The gentleman before had said he wanted the flow to go in and more. Right now, it's a 5-foot opening through that dam. And what I was thinking, would a self-regulating tide gate be acceptable, because it still allows all the flow in and out. It just gives you another tool in the toolbox if we have another storm surge like we did last January. Whereas the proposed project seems like it would actually make such a situation worse. So I can share a screen to show you what I'm talking about if you'd want.
Let's see if that's enough information, because we also have your comments in writing.
Yes.
Mr. Nahadas, is that enough information? I'll ask the town, Chuck or Nate, or the engineer, Mr. Canavan, to respond.
Yeah, I guess, Steve, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I think there's a few things to note on this one. That we did not consider a self-regulating tide gate. As you said, the tide gate that is there now has not been operated for many years, maybe even decades. And so the intent was to remove it to allow for the better piss passage, as well as allow water in and out of the pond area. So that's very important for not only the storm surge and the high tide, as Dean has mentioned and we've heard on previous applications, but also to allow the fresh water from the watershed out. So we have to accommodate for both, and so that's why we hadn't considered that. I will say that the town has considered a tide gate as part of the coastal vulnerability assessment plan at the inner harbor near the railroad tracks, which would protect all of the inner harbor instead of just upstream of this crossing. So I think that is the more appropriate place for a measure like that. And the H&H that Nate had mentioned before is on the website. And I as I went through that, all of the existing conditions are improved by widening the culvert in terms of freeboard under the roadway, as well as upstream, like you said, allowing water in and out. The impediment right now is the restriction at the culvert. So we're improving that condition as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys. I think that's time, Dean.
Yeah, I have one follow-up based on that question. This is the second time tonight that we've heard some comparisons of the high tide levels experienced in our inner harbor versus the 100-year flood, FEMA flood level. Could you tell us more about how that distinction applies in this case?
Unfortunately, I don't think I can. Off the top of my head, I'm just not 100% sure what elevation is referenced, unless Rick can point it out to me on the form.
Yeah,
but I do know these are elevations, and as far as the storm surge and predictive tides, those are all incorporated into the H&H and was submitted to DOT. So DOT, as part of the small bridge, chapter 85 permitting that we have to do, has to approve all of these assumptions as well as the H&H. So we are essentially, reporting to them what these elevations are, and they are the ones that are approving it or not.
Got it. Thank you. That's a good enough answer for tonight. Let me recognize Mary Ann Wood. Can you unmute and identify yourself and give us a 2-minute question or comment?
Hi, this is not Mary Ann. I'm with Mary Ann. This is Susan Wadia Els. I'm in a butter to the culvert. I am at 0 Elm Street, Suite A. There are 4 condos there. And I'd like to say that Dean Nahadas, who just spoke, has 30 years experience as a civil engineer, focused on bridges. So I think it's really important that we really listen to what he has said, and things he has told me based on his study is this design is over 15 years old. At that time, 15 years ago, there was a big push to remove dams for anadromous fish. But the trend for the past 5 years has obviously been to enhance title controls for protecting people and property, as we've heard in earlier applications here tonight. The fish could still access Sawmill and Cat Brook through a self-regulating tide gate, and Bennett's Brook successfully provides a natural habitat for our anadromous fish, however you pronounce that. The existing granite block, by the way, according to Dean, performed admirably during the 2006 flood and is more robust than a precast culvert, which is now being proposed. The arch barrel and footings need repointing, and the walls parallel to the road should be replaced. But that is a much easier job than total replacement, especially for a bridge that meets all traffic loading requirements. Most of the work could be done without a detour. And last night we realized in the cafeteria at the high school, we had a how do we enhance the downtown revitalization project. I would say the worst thing we can do to block revitalization is to block Central Street for 9 months. How do you revitalize a community when you don't let anyone into that community from one of the main thoroughfares? If the current 5-foot tidal opening is widened to 20 feet, again, this is according to Dean's study, the increased volume of incoming water will most likely increase the frequency and magnitude of flooding along the channel, Central Pond, especially from Night
Excuse me, Mary Ann,
Fire
that's
Station.
2 minutes, and I have to tell you that in addition to that, using up to 2 minutes, I think that most of what you're saying is direct. You're reading directly from Dean Nahadas' letter.
I absolutely
which has been
am. I
received.
just think people need to hear an expert in bridges who understands this
I think
community
time is up.
and understands that culvert
Yes,
is not
but
a bad thing.
what I'm telling you is that he has been heard. His materials are in our records for this.
Not to the
meeting and this
public. He has
matter
not been heard. I'm sorry. He has not been heard to the public. He has also submitted a plan that shows an auxiliary culvert to help instead of replacing the whole culvert. And that would not
All right, then
require
I
blocking off town
must
for
ask
9
you.
months.
I must ask you to stop because as far as we have heard from him, these are engineering questions and not wetlands protection questions.
Well, the wetlands protection, if you increase that culvert, you're going to have a lot more wetlands, wet, because you're going to have the ocean coming right in down Elm Street
I mean, that's,
and into
with
Night
all due
Circle.
respect, that's the reason why we have experts conduct this so-called H&H study, and we have it vetted by government departments who also have experts. And we're not in a position to second guess that expertise on the hydrology and the effects of this. So we appreciate your comment, but unless you have something more specific about wetlands, I ask you to turn the mic over to
I do. One of my major concerns personally is that there.
Mr. Chair, time is up.
I'm sorry, I was.
Well, I'd like to hear up to a minute of this
Okay,
from
fine.
Ms. Woods.
Right now, my understanding is that a temporary sidewalk is being considered to at the corner of Elm and Central, right in front of our condo building, with the idea of removing are two only trees in our common area for a temporary walkway for, pedestrian walkway. Meanwhile, there is already an existing easement that goes between Elm Street and Morse Court that goes right through Sawmill Circle, and it's been left open because it's an existing easement that can be used as a pedestrian walkway instead of destroying our 200-year-old trees and all of our shade.
Okay, well, that's very useful to know, and when we get, I presume we will get a notice of intent or an RDA to deal with removing trees in our jurisdiction, we're going to consider that.
Well, I would
It
love to
doesn't
hear,
sound like this
I
is
would love to
something-
hear from Nate or from Chuck, if in fact that plan right now as it stands is to destroy those 2 trees. Would be very
Well,
nice, because I'm looking at the
This is
plan.
not the format for that.
I'm not going to permit that tonight, and Henry's backing me up on this, because those matters are not in the notice of intent in front of us. They may be in the future, and they may well be in Concom jurisdiction then, and then we will hear that matter and get some expert opinion on it. But tonight
This
we
is
would
in the
just be kind
culvert
of
plan though, sir.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
culvert
Steve.
plan we're looking at.
Steve?
And
Thank
Um,
you for your
within
contribution.
200
Gordon.
feet of the brook.
Steve, I do think somewhere in this plan that I was looking at before the meeting, there is the bridge as part of this plan, and it did note the tree removal. So it seems like it is being proposed. So,
All right, then it's an appropriate question back
Yeah.
to
Thank you.
Nate and Chuck and engineers.
somewhere
expand
down
on that?
further in these drawings, but
Thank you, Gordon.
thanks.
Nate, do you have this one?
Yeah, so we have discussed that with Susan. She has come to our office and expressed those concerns, which we relayed to our consulting engineers at Ty and Bond. Those comments are part of our final markups on the bid set. We did work with the engineers to basically reduce and move that path back. Rick, if you can go to that previous page you were showing with the corner of Elm and Central.
Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Where is the temporary bridge?
So I think we're conflating 2 items here. So there is a separate gangway that we are proposing that is on the south side of the culvert behind Seaside 1, and it would land on the Sea Rock Estate property between 26 Central and Sea Rock, but entirely on the Sea Rock property. The question that Susan was asking is more specifically these 2 trees on the corner of Elm and Central. We were essentially showing there, yeah, if you can zoom in, perfect. Because we have to reduce the lane width of Elm Street to facilitate construction, it goes to 1 lane. So we were basically forced to push the lane over, which would have pushed the kind of the easement area into those trees. We have worked with the engineer to revise that area and reduce the easement and pull that basically walkway. I think there's another plan that shows where like stockade fence is. That would be a temporary sidewalk to allow pedestrians to safely get down Elm Street. So we've pulled that all and tightened up that area. So we do not have to remove either of the 22-inch or the 26-inch trees shown.
Okay.
Good, thank you. But also people should realize there is an easement between Elm Street and Morse Court that goes right through Sawmill Circle, and they have left, the Windover left that easement there that could easily be a pedestrian walkway. So you wouldn't even have to knock off our stockade fence and have people walking through our front yard. It can go right through Sawmill Circle. The easement is there and it goes right on to Morse Court. The Morse Court property is owned by Sea Rock and Eddie Favaza, whatever it owns the Sawmill Circle. So that that easement's there. It exists and can be used for pedestrian walkway instead of using our yard.
That's good to know. Thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear the trees, you've re-engineered this so the trees don't need to be removed. If it's just a temporary walkway, I presume there's not going to be any significant excavation or damage to the tree roots.
Correct. We would keep that all above just surface level.
That's great. Thank you.
And just for clarification, Steve, is there any concern about the temporary gangway and any environmental impacts that that might have, or has that been resolved with this change?
The one behind Seaside One.
From the public
South of Seaside.
comments, yeah. I think it was a few, there. There's one tree behind Seaside One, but was there any other public concern about environmental impacts of that?
Actually, it encroaches on my property.
Rick, do you have a map up? Because I no longer have it.
Yes, we're seeing a map of the intended site of the
not.
temporary gangway.
Okay. I've lost it.
Better?
No, but that's okay. I'll look at the plans.
Sounds like it's on your end. Are other people having trouble seeing the shared screen?
I see it. I have
No,
two screens
all
on.
good.
I see it.
Okay, so that one calls for the removal of a small tree behind Seaside One. And
Yeah, and
obviously some parking spaces.
Yeah, and again, we're hopeful that we can realign this. Basically, it's going to have to swing a little bit. On the western end will come south, the eastern end will go north, closer to Seaside One. Hopefully, we can save that one tree there, but it may require removal, which we would obviously replace in kind after the project, or with whatever tree the commission would like there. And we can certainly work with the tree warden to make a selection. But this is basically the gangway to facilitate pedestrian crossings through the project duration, understanding that during portions of the project it's going to be completely cut off for cars and pedestrians. Given the size of the equipment and the nature of the work, we felt it would be unsafe to allow pedestrians to cross within the adjacent project work zone. So we came up with this solution utilizing the gangway that's currently out at Tux Point, which is ADA accessible and compliant, and we will float it in after its use during the boating season and put it into place to allow 24 pedestrian access across the project area.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for public comment other than Ms. Wells or Mr. Nahadas. I'll come back to you if time permits. Anybody else have a question or a comment?
I think Marianne is with Susan, but I think they're just sharing a Zoom.
Yes, we are. If I would like to ask a couple questions.
All right, go ahead.
I have a question about the project being segmented into two smaller projects. Is this one project?
Sorry, just for the record, this is Marianne Wood, not Susan Ells.
Oh, no, this is Marianne Wood, 6 Highwood Road.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the two NOIs because I thought this was one project, and I'm curious that if you only were to get one NOI, could you only do one of these projects, or do these two projects have to be done together? Could you do the culvert without doing the pond? Or could you do the pond?
Dr. Nate, can you answer this good question?
I could also jump in if you want.
Yeah, if you want to
go ahead.
Take that one, Rick.
So, as we've heard, because this is, was approved by the Conservation Commission 4 years ago. At the time, this project has gone through MEPA review, which looked at both projects as a combined set of projects. Because the bridge replacement was getting MassDOT funding, which would not allow for mass transportation funding to be spent on the maybe shoreline restoration or the wall replacement that we're going to talk about in the next filing. the NOIs were submitted separately with the idea that, well, it was optimistically at the time that the bridge approval and funding may go faster than the grant funding and approvals for the living shoreline work. As I mentioned, the MIPA submission was looking at the project as a single combined project, and then later the Chapter 91 is also combined. If the bridge was approved, you know, it would need the full approval of Chapter 91 and subsequently Army Corps to be able to be constructed. If the Conservation Commission denied one of the two NOIs and all the other approvals were approved, it's possible that one of the projects could get built, but we'll discuss in the next NOI that the State Coastal Goodwill Management is requesting that planting that's proposed in the pond is conducted after the tide gate is removed. So they're basically do have to occur together, where the restoration work in the pond is in part scheduled to occur after the bridge replacement. Because 4 years ago we submitted these as two separate projects based on MassDOT funding, we've come back with this essentially the same exact applications.
Thank you. I think that's clear enough.
Okay.
We viewed them as basically one project with two NOIs.
It is admittedly a little confusing, so I appreciate the question.
Like conjoined twins.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
do have a question about the funding. Has the funding been secured?
Yes,
The FEMA funding and the state funding
yes, and NOAA.
and NOAA? Okay.
Thanks. I think that's time.
Yep. Mr. Nahadas, do you have a short question or comment to add?
They're using.
Yes, just a quick, while the discussion was going on, I sent to everyone, I think everyone, a brochure of that tide gate, because I'd be curious. It seems like it meets all the requirements for salt water going in and out and fish and everything. It might be a tool in the toolbox. So I just want to let you know that I sent it since you didn't want it on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. That's appreciated. Probably more by the engineers than by the Conservation Commission.
If I can respond one element of a self-regulating tide gate. So, you know, we talked about flow velocities, or, you know, we talk about the narrowing or widening of the hydraulic opening. If you narrow it down to a smaller opening that can get covered by a self-regulating tide gate, the velocities in those channels go way up in the pipe, and that can, although you could have water flowing in and out of the tide gate, it can, in cases that can be an impediment to fish passage. You know, it's just because water can flow in and out, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not a barrier for fish.
Right. Well, but what the existing opening now is 5 feet in the dam, and we're going to 20. But I'm thinking if you just open it to the size of the existing bridge, you are going to get an improvement, significant. And the tide gate might add another tool against another January flooding like we had on a sunny day. But that's for another thing. I just wanted to see if this was feasible from a conservation standpoint. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's appreciated very much. Other members of the public have a question, concern, comment?
Yeah.
Not hearing any. None.
Hi,
Commissioners.
Are we
I'm
ready to
here
vote?
again.
Steve, could we please vote on this?
I'm sorry.
I believe we're ready to vote. Is the commission ready to vote?
Yes.
I'm sorry. This is Christine Delisio. I have some questions.
Who is this, please?
My name is Christine Delisio.
I see. And your address, Christine?
6 Lincoln Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a few things. So I understand from the last comment that this did go through the MIPA review. Was a notice of project changed filed for this go around?
The project hasn't changed, so no.
Okay. So is that still a valid application? If it was, 5 years old at this point?
Yes.
Okay, and so I believe there was some property changed hands within the project. So isn't that a significant change in the MIPA process?
No, I don't believe it would be.
Okay, I would like that on the record. And then I would like to know how the people on the pond and Sawmill Brook, how were they notified? I have several friends in that area, and I think I actually may be within 300 feet. I'm just curious how people were notified that live on the brook, on the pond, because many of them I know did not receive notices.
So for the pond and the bridge NOIs, we had submitted to the Manchester assessor this I'd shared previously, project area for the two different projects. They developed a list of abutters to each of the projects and then provided a certified list, and we sent notices to abutters for each of those projects. It was about approximately 40 notices for the bridge and about 80 for the pond.
Okay, I think I
Yeah.
did ask for that information.
And Ms. Delizio, you can find that on our website under the documents for tonight's meeting at the end, Appendix C, at the end of the NOI application for this project is a 300-foot abutters list report.
Oh, great, thanks. So I do have a question. There was some monitoring or some pre-construction habitat monitoring that was supposed to happen in 2020. And to me, I'm not sure how you could close that out if that should have been performed regardless of a project. And is that, I mean, that should be ready to hit the shovel or whatever you do to do some pre-construction habitat monitoring.
Is that,
When's that happening?
Is that for this project or for the pond marsh project?
It's for both.
They're one project.
I don't know the answer to that question. Can anyone from Mr. Canavan or others answer about pre-construction monitoring?
Yeah, I don't have that condition in front of me, but that would be pending, the completion of permitting. Right now, we don't know when the final permitting will be issued, so that we wouldn't be able to start pre-construction monitoring yet.
And I can say that if there was no performance of any aspect of the project, then as far as the Concom is concerned, failure to perform pre-construction monitoring would not be an issue. We would still issue a certificate of compliance. That's been about 3 minutes, so I'd ask you to wrap up at this point.
Oh.
And
excuse me.
Last call from
This
the
is
commission.
Susan Wadia Els again. This may not have to do with the conservation, but I want it publicly noted. A metal bridge is a bridge that no dog will walk over. And if you're trying to have a pedestrian walkway through the town hall parking
Mrs.
lot.
Els, with due respect, there's other boards that govern the kinds of things you're talking about, and their public record is where this should be entered, not the conservation.
What board would that be, sir?
I'm afraid that's for you and your attorney and people in town hall to, that's not our job to advise you where to go, but between zoning, planning, and other land management, or just DPW and the select board, there ought to be a place for that concern to be heard, not concerning wetlands protection.
Fine, just that.
All right, commission ready to vote on to close this hearing?
Yes.
Good, I'll hear a motion.
I will move that we close the hearing on Mass DEP 0390934, map 28, lot 30, Central Street.
Second.
Good, second. Thank you, Olga. All those in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
3.
Aye.
And I am also an aye. It's unanimous. The hearing is closed. We will talk about the specifics of the order of condition and vote on that. That brings us to the second of these twin projects, Mass DEP file 39-932, Central Street, also east of Elm Street, town of Manchester, by the Sea map 28 lot 30, proposed project relative to retaining wall repair, replacement, and construction of a living shoreline. This is also within riverfront area, coastal resource area, land under the ocean, coastal beaches, coastal banks, and land subject to flowage. Can we have a brief review of what's proposed here, Mr. Canavan?
Getting off mute. Sorry about that. So I've just shared a plan of the proposed ecological restoration at Central Pond, Sawmill Brook flowing through Central Pond. Basically, there's two main components to the work. So on the south or east side of the pond, there's an existing retaining wall. In many cases, the retaining walls, it's stone blocks are falling off. There's sections that are in disrepair. The work on that section of the wall is proposed to replace in kind. So new wall materials, but put in the same place as the existing wall. So the same location in plan view that we're looking at here, and also the same height. It would get a new footing to support a new wall and allow it to, function properly, stay up. And then on the opposite side, there's, some areas of riprap, but it's primarily open soil, and that is a living shoreline bank stabilization. So it involves soil lifts with core, which is coconut fiber, so a biological material that holds soil in place while you establish plants. And then this would be planted with native shrubs, herbaceous plants, and then there's also some components for stream restoration with woody material that both helps the shoreline stay in place, and it's also beneficial for fish habitat. Finally, it came up in the previous hearing, but there is proposed planting of Spartina grass in the existing tidal flat. That would be conducted after the removal of the tide gate and the replacement of the bridge to see what the hydraulics of the pond are to determine how much of the area would be appropriate to plant the salt marsh grass. So that's
good. Thank you. That's a succinct summary. Comments and questions from the commission, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead, David.
Since I lived on that brook, I recall when we moved there in '84, the granite stones on the right side of your map were perfectly in place. Due to storms, the water frequently came up over those granite stones and displaced the stones along most of the length entirely. They were all displaced behind my former house on Knight Circle. So my question is, how will the new construction be any different? It won't be any higher, so we'll still be subject to flooding. But what will be done in the way of engineering to pin those stones against the bank and keep them from piling over again?
So I'm showing a cross section of the proposed wall. So I will state again that I'm a professional wetland scientist and not a professional engineer, but part of how this is an improvement over the existing wall is that there's a footing, and then there's free draining material on the backside of the wall, and these are elements of how you build a retaining wall to make sure that flows from both stormwater flows from the
impervious surfaces and flood flows from the pond and stream don't damage the wall. So that's, this is a more robust construction than stack granite stones. There's a lot of mass to those stones, but scour at the toe, flow over the top does eventually cause them to become unstable.
Good answer.
Thank you for that. Other questions from the commission? How about from the public? You want to have a short, succinct question or comment about this aspect of the project? I am hearing none. Commission, oh, sorry, Mr. Nahadas.
Yeah. So one of the things that struck me when I was looking at these plans is that the annual tide elevation and the flood elevations aren't on the cross sections anywhere, and it's a little deceiving. You're under the impression that the water is going to stay below the banks. Shouldn't those other elevations be on the cross section so you could see the overflow? Yeah, so like in this particular cross section, we've got mean high water and the top of the retaining wall. There's some other cross sections that show the entire they show the layout of one side or the other, so you can see that this is a smaller scale, but you can see the retaining wall on the south or east side, the proposed Spartina planting on the existing flat, and then the encapsulated soil lift living shoreline. So there are mean high, mean low, low, and then there's also a scale on the plan. So if you had, the whatever elevation you wanted, you could look across the sheet. Obviously, I get that it's a tight scale given the width of the pond cross sections, but there are tidal elevations on these cross sections and also a elevation scale on the cross sections that would allow you to look for other references if you had other elevations you wanted to look for. Right, because on the bridge elevation, there's an 8.2, which is up above the bank, and that would kind of show more graphically in cross section if you had it there. So I was wondering why it was omitted. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information. It's a wide cross section, so we went with the scale using those jurisdictional mean high and low, and in these cases we didn't have the FEMA on this one. I mean, in a lot of cases, like parking lots and other areas are under the floodplain, so that's a little less. Like all of our work is in floodplain in this location, so it's not going to change after we're done. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that answer, preparation. I see a hand for Marianne Wood, or would you identify who it actually is? If it's not Ms. Wood. There's that hand a leftover.
Oh,
No, nope, it wasn't. I was just hit the wrong button. Sorry. This is Christine Delicio, 6 Lincoln Avenue. Just big high level. I mean, I think most people have a hard time understanding that you're going to take a culvert, just say for instance, it was 1 foot, you're going to make it 5 feet, and you're going to make flooding all along the brook better. So, I mean, I hear things like, as far as I can tell, these wishy-washy statements. I mean, I'm pretty darn close here. I think we're going to all be affected by flooding of Sawmill Brook and up School Street. So where's the guarantee that this is going to help? When I've read these plans, it doesn't guarantee it's going to help this. So why are we letting more water into everyone's backyards and all along School Street if we can't really tell that this is going to help? Is this like a big guessing game? Is it a big environmental project that's hopefully it goes well? I mean, where's the actual, yes, this will improve.
What is your specific question?
Where's the science and where's the guarantee that this is actually going to help flooding on Sawmill Brook and all the properties along School Street?
I'd refer you to the H&H studies that are on the website and the basis of design, and all the studies that were done in 2016 with CZM grant funding that studied, the entire reaches of Sawmill Brook that kind of went through and analyzed all the questions that you're asking right now.
Right. They're all on the website with the H&H
Oh,
analysis.
oh,
and
I've read
I
the
think they are-
396 pages, and it says
well-
you're not
Sorry,
sure if it's going to happen.
Excuse
So
me,
why are we doing
Ms.
this
Delicio,
project?
Ms. Delicio, could you let Mr. Dam finish?
I was just gonna say, I think it is very specific. It shows in the H&H analysis the different storm interval frequencies and the corresponding control. There's absolutely no guarantee that there will be control for future scenarios where there's increased storm surge or inundation, but that's just the nature of Manchester by the Sea in all locations. So this actually does improve the hydraulic condition. There's no doubt about it, and we have not been wishy-washy whatsoever. There's existing conditions and then there's proposed conditions, and if you read for yourself, you'll see it. The only time that I've seen comments like may help is when we're talking about self-regulating tide gates that we haven't evaluated as part of this project. So that's all I can really say to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I guess from the Concom perspective, we're in the habit of approving projects that we know will be impacted by severe storms and flooding, wave action, storm surges, et cetera, and so does the applicant. So no one's prepared to issue a guarantee that a single project, no matter how ambitious, is going to guarantee that properties stay dry around Sawmill Brook. Because nobody can issue that guarantee that I know of. Other comments from the public? Questions? I'm hearing none. Commission ready to close this hearing?
Yes.
I'll accept a motion.
I will move to close 039-0932, map 28, lot 30, Central Street.
Second.
I'll second. Thank you. All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
Sari?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Unanimous again. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you all. Thank you to the
Dr.
public
Bond.
and appreciate the comments.
Appreciate the comments. Exactly. Good questions. Brings us to our final notice of intent for this evening, which is 3 Eagle Head Road, BEP file 39-835, map 13, lot 37, owner Barbara Bula. This project involves a proposed addition, deck, and patio at a single-family residence within the 100-foot buffer zone. Mike, are you?
Yep. For the record, Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, and I'll share my screen. Oops. Let's see. Too many things there. Hold on. Sorry about that. So 3 Eagle Head Road. This is the house. I think this commission's been out here before years ago for the patio work that we did. And essentially, I'll give a quick overview here. The project is to cantilever out a little bump out from the kitchen area here. Over here, and then continue a deck out again on the top of the first floor level around the corner, and then there's an addition out in the front, and I'll go through all the plans with you. The do this. So this is the project summary. We've got an addition to the single-family home, which is out in front of the house on by the street. The kitchen extension, the proposed deck and cantilever deck, pervious paver driveway, and then a mitigation planting plan. The numbers are these. We've got no increase in the no disturbance zone. We've got an increase of proposed activity of 425 square feet in the no build zone, which is largely the cantilevered deck and kitchen addition. And the rest of the work is 2,000 square feet is out in the outer buffer zone. We've provided a mitigation plan of 980 square feet to offset the work in the no build zone, the 425 square feet, which I'll go through. Coastal Bank is the driving resource area. I'm going quick because it's getting late. Let me go to the plan. So this is the site plan, and I highlighted in. It's hard to see on the regular plan, so I highlighted the different elements. This is the kitchen addition, which is cantilevered. This whole deck is cantilevered, and it's supported by piles, steel posts here. I think there's 5 of them. And that amount of work is within the no build zone, but it's already, it's already lawn and landscaped area. Part of this is over the patio. And then this work is the work that's in the outer buffer zone. So the addition, there's a garage here, and then porous paver patio, like we normally do. The gray areas are the mitigation areas. There's 6 trees that have to come down as part of the addition. And we provided 6 trees. I'll go to the landscape plan. So this is our mitigation planting plan. And I'm sure we're going to schedule a site walk so we can go look at this. There's a grass trail through here. It's like a pitch pine understory, but it's grass. And this area is where we want to do the mitigation because we've got mowed lawn in here that we can convert to native plantings that will do well in the understory and in the acid soils. And then we have this area here, which is 6 more pitch pine because they're doing so well here. We thought they would do well there. And we also have understory plantings there as well. So we feel that we've met the intent of the bylaw and the state regulations. The the driveway is porous. We have details on the profile. So this is the permeable pavement. There's spaces between the aggregate and the openings, but spaces between the pavers, and then a depth of about 2 feet, 18 inches, 12-inch minimum here to the native grass, and this is all native ledge, really. And then this is all very coarse gravel, sand, and reservoir stone. And then we have a drip edge along the whole addition as well to handle the runoff from the roof there. So that's it. I think if there's any questions, I can take them now. We can schedule a site walk, whatever you'd like to do.
Let's see if there are any questions or comments and see if we can pick a time for a site walk. Anyone on the commission have a question or comment?
No, I just think we,
Henry?
I think sidewalk sounds good to me, and we can hold our questions maybe until that time.
We can. Anyone in the public have a comment or question on 3 Eagle Head Road? All right, then, let's see if we can schedule something. It's been our habit to try the next available Saturday. This Saturday is the 14th, which is a fairly busy one in my household, maybe some of yours as well. Being a big birthday or a no King's Day, depending on your orientation.
I'm out of town Saturday, but please go ahead and plan that around me. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm also
Can
unavailable.
others do Saturday first thing?
First thing being 8:30?
First thing being around about 8:30, if that's acceptable to Mike or team member.
I can be there this Saturday. It's my mother's 90th birthday this weekend, so I think I have to get down to Cape Cod, but I can go after the site walk, so that'll work out.
Okay.
8:30 this
8:30?
So who's going to be there?
And only Henry
I'll be there.
is blocked. Good.
there.
I'll be there.
All right, then let me,
But that's only 2 commissioners.
Just you and
I
me.
can do an 8:30.
David?
I can do a quick one.
I think I can be there. I've got something else, but I'll move around for this.
Is it better earlier?
Earlier than 8:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could do
Mike,
7
I
o'clock.
see that look on your face.
It's early is fine with me.
Okay, we'll
Olga?
set it for 7:30.
No, 7:30 is too early. 8 o'clock?
Too early. Okay. How about 8 o'clock?
Goldilocks.
8 a.m.
8 o'clock, Olga?
Yes,
Good.
I'm marching
so-
after that.
Yes, good for you. 8 a.m. Saturday. Let me make a motion that with the applicant's consent, we continue this to our next meeting, July 1st, and schedule a site visit for 8 a.m. Saturday, June 14th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor? Olga?
hi,
Jeff?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
3.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Unanimous as before. Good, thank you, Michael. See you and perhaps others at 8 a.m. on Saturday the 14th. That completes notices of intent. So we will recess from public hearing and consider 2 other matters, hopefully briefly. A request for a certificate of compliance from 20 Ocean Street, map CP 39-787, map 6, lot 53. This was the construction of a garage addition at a single-family residence. Somebody here to guide us through this?
Mike's already doing the,
I'm already doing it.
Mike's doing it just for you. How
So
fast
this
can you
is
talk?
This is 20 Ocean. We had an as-built survey done by Donahoe Survey. And the variations were the deck extension and steps were constructed smaller, so that's less impact. Garage and mudroom were smaller, constructed smaller, so that's less impact. Extension to the deck was not constructed at all, so that didn't happen. And a portion of the existing compacted gravel driveway was paved, which we think is a good thing because it's a steep slope there and it's going to make things easier to maintain, especially in the winter. And then there was a small retaining wall there that was constructed to retain some of that stuff. Let's see if I have a, yeah. And then largely this has been continued because of the plantings. And we got through 2 growing seasons and things are looking good. This was the planting area down here. And the variations were, there's a little wall that was built here, and then this was paved. It was only paved to about here. So, it looks pretty good. I think we have photos. Which I can't get to. So this is the area that was planted by the driveway. This is the area that was paved. More plantings, additional plantings. These are all part of the mitigation elements. So really, it's the pavement that was the issue, but we think it's warranted in order to have a stable surface there, an easily maintained surface, which will protect the wetland. So we can have questions. I don't know if you want to do a site walk here too. Up to you.
Questions, comments?
I'm good.
How much additional change, I won't say necessarily increase in impervious, compacted versus paved, but roughly
Yeah.
how much was paved?
I don't have a number for the pavement, but it was compacted gravel before, and as you guys know, DEP considers that impervious now anyway. So it's just a much more easier maintainable surface than, water running down an erodible surface, so.
Right. Other questions or comments?
How does the water run off of that paved area?
It sheet flows, let's see if I have the as-built. It sheet flows onto the remaining gravel piece of the so it comes down this way and then basically flows across, and then this.
I don't know what you're pointing to.
Yeah.
We're not seeing your screen.
All right. Oh, I'm not sharing, am I?
No, you're not.
It's too late in the night for
Sharing with yourself.
I am sharing with myself. Sorry. Yeah, so here's the gravel drive, and then so it's flowing this way, and then this buffer strip is what filters it before it goes to the wetland. So it sheet flows over the slope.
And the line below that is the demarcation of the wetland?
Yeah, this is the wetland line here.
So that pavement is right next to the wetland?
It's up in here, yeah. There's a good, I don't know what the distance is, but it's 10, 15 feet off the wetland line. It's all vegetated.
It looks to me like that's gonna just erode the soil under the newly paved area. If you go back to that picture that you had, Mike, of the driveway.
Yeah, let me look.
I suggest like maybe me, this is Bethany, by the way. Maybe me like coming down and checking out this site myself.
I can meet you there, Bethany, and we can walk it.
Yeah, that would expedite this, I think.
Yeah, that would help a lot.
Yeah, there's no rush on this, so if we want to continue, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I should look at it myself. I'll bring my little tape measure.
That'd be great.
And
Good thought.
Let's move this then to the July 1st agenda.
yeah,
And I don't think that requires a vote with the CUC.
Mike, just email me.
Okay, I will.
Requires an
Thanks, man.
agenda for next time. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Bethany.
Lastly, we have a de minimis change request for an outstanding OC at 168 Pine Street, David Doucette, DEP file 39904, map 32, lot 54. Bill, are you, no, Dan. Daniel
There it is.
Oppenheimer. Mr. Oppenheimer, did you survive this long, and are you still online here?
Dan, we
Are you
cannot
muted?
hear you.
Can't hear you. You're not muted. We just can't hear you.
I think
That's
maybe there's
perplexing.
your headset's muted. We cannot hear you still. Give you a second to.
Well, I'll narrate that the de minimis change is noted in red there. Switch a pervious patio to a pervious deck above that elevation. Same footprint, basically extending the deck previously approved. And Olga, you'll be happy to see that there's trap rock on this one too.
Steve, do we know
question?
what's underneath the deck?
That, I guess that's
Any
the
ability
what I'll request.
I think Dan can speak.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me
we
now?
hear you now.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. I'm very sorry about that miscommunication before, Commissioner. Sorry about that. So good evening, Dan Ottenheimer, engineer with Mill River Consulting. And as the chairman kindly stepped in for me. So by way of background, you may recall you had kindly issued an order to allow an existing house to be replaced and a raised deck to be constructed off of that house. Adjacent to that was going to be a pervious patio at ground level. The unfortunate reality is the current occupant of this house is now wheelchair bound and would not be able to access this deck if it was at ground level. I mean, this patio at ground level. So in the exact same footprint where there was going to be a paver patio, they would like to just extend the deck all the way across the back of the house. This will not be covered. It's an open deck. Infiltration will allow to occur. And to your question that I heard previously, beneath the deck will be a filter fabric so that weeds don't grow, and then rock placed down just as an ornamental feature underneath that deck. So again, no increase in footprint, just a different material going from the patio pavers at ground level to a deck a few feet up off of the ground.
Okay.
Excellent. So the question is answered?
Yes.
Good. Any others?
Nope.
I move we accept this change as though it was de minimis to the existing order of conditions for DEP file 39-904.
Second.
Accept. Thank you. All those in favor? Sari,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Gordon. And I am an aye as well. That was an aye from Gordon.
That was, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Commissioners, thank you very much for your time.
Steve,
You.
a woman, Elisa, I think has been waiting to talk about her. It's in the amended agenda, the mermaid structure proposal. I added it in the SharePoint. She's been waiting patiently all night to discuss this.
No, I apologize about that. It didn't show up on my screen and I didn't turn to you.
Thank you for
I
having
hope
me.
you can keep this brief. And
Very
I
short.
apologize again. Apologize again for keeping you waiting.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you for having me. So, my name is Elisa Vanelli. I am a sculptor. I was selected last year as emerging sculptor by New England Art Magazine for the New England, and I'm also the exhibition chair of the New England Sculptor Association. We represent over 200 sculptors all over New England. And I proposed, I proposed this project already to the Board of Selectmen over a month ago and to the harbor master, and it has been approved. My idea is to create a mermaid sculpture casted in bronze, and she would be placed in front of, I actually shared with Bethany the exact location. So it's a piece that is unique in the world, and there's only 2 other sculptures that interact with the tide like this one, but they're in England, and one is a bunch of military guys and another one is horses. This is a mermaid. It's very special. Her name is Atlantis the Tidekeeper. She will be fully exposed at low tide and covered till her waist at high tide. And it's a piece that is going to become, she's going to be positioned, if you guys agree with it, on Days Creek, which is the little piece of land that we have right in front of Masco. My intention is to donate my time and skills to create this piece, and I'm going to use grants and donations to fund the bronze casting. I already have 2 corporates and 2 privates, but I'm going to work on it. I believe that this is going to be a beautiful addition to our beautiful town, and it's going to become a landmark, unique in the whole world, and it's going to reinforce the bond between people and the ocean, because it's going to bring this sense of awe that is going to, you know, bring a little more magic in a town that is already magic. So I am here tonight to present you this project and seek for your approval so I can keep going forward with the next step to bring Atlantis to Manchester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any significant wetlands obstacles, although I wonder, have you spoken to the harbor master?
Yes.
About this?
Yes, he's very excited about it. He's going to measure the tide for me, and it says that it's something that is looking forward to, and so I would be collaborating with him and consulting with the DPW at the end, but I have the approval of both the Board of Selectmen and the harbor master.
Well, that is exciting.
That is very exciting.
Yeah. Commissioners, do you think this requires an RDA? Or can it be done with a letter permit?
Letter.
Yep.
Letter.
Good. Bethany, we punt this over into your court.
Okay, yeah, just email me tomorrow, Lisa, so you can be in the front of my inbox and we can get that settled for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
This is the benefit, at least, of waiting until 9 o'clock to present this, that we're readily going to say it's a letter.
That was part of the strategy.
Yeah, we're not avoiding work or anything here. Not a bit.
Great. Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
really appreciate your help and support.
Thank you, one and all, for hanging in here. I would like to be able to issue the orders of conditions, at least for 35 Coolidge Point, 37 Bennett, 30 Mill, although actually the only other one is the Plains. But that, in order to do that quickly, it'll require that, Bethany, you take us through the drafts of only the special and perpetual conditions on each of those, and we vote them. We're going to
I
presume
can
that the rest
try
is
to screen share. Let me. I have 2 computers open right now, so so
a test of your skills.
yes. So hold on. Okay. It's like kind of confusing, this Okay. Open. So do you see this draft?
Yes.
This is for 30 mil with Bill Manuel that we just saw today. And so all the parcel numbers and the book and page, we scroll. Okay, we're scrolling.
You went past it.
No, it's always at the very end. These are just like the signature pages and everything. So here is the like this attached special conditions like template that you guys always have. And here is the project description, proposed construction of a dwelling in the riverfront area. I fixed the spelling.
Let's just skip ahead to the,
Yes.
thank you.
Skip special conditions. It's on the coastal bank, so I crossed that one off. And in the mitigation plantings, I did plantings must be shown. I can edit this actively right now too, in case there's anything you want to add. But plantings must be shown on an approved planting plan.
There are no mitigation plantings on this site, right?
Are there not?
There are some plantings, but we're not treating them as mitigation for riverfront.
Okay, so I can
So
just
that's
cut that one off.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that can come out.
Yeah.
Just highlight it and hit delete. Or
Yeah, I usually, so we don't like mess up the what is it? It's hard to see the full screen because of the Zoom screen. Because of the I can't see the whole screen. Okay, because it's numbered, I do a strike through so it doesn't mess up the numbers.
Good.
Okay, gone. Okay. And there's no special condition, so it won't be perpetual. And what else do you need to see?
any perpetual conditions?
It's basically like, like the ones that I crossed out the
Yep.
ones that have been like repeated over and over again, like additional alterations.
Pesticides and herbicides and
Yes, pesticides, the
Yeah, I think the
usual.
only thing to add, in this case was Henry's suggestion of suitable perpetual monuments for the no mow area. And you can, that they subject to your approval.
Okay, so what do you want
So
me
the
to add?
applicant
Sorry.
shall install suitable perpetual monuments.
Applicant shall install suitable perpetual.
monuments indicating the no mow area. Yeah,
I get nervous typing in front of people indicating the
Sorry,
no.
you can fix the type.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve, is it a no mow or a low mow area?
I think it's a low mow. Yeah.
low mow.
Okay. Low mow area. Okay, perfect.
Subject to approval by the Conservation Administrator. Was there anything else on 30 mil?
Sorry, it's hard to see with everyone. What happened? Hold on. It won't let me open
Ran out of text box.
it. It won't let me open it. Just hold on for a second. It sometimes. Okay. Subject to the
To approval by the Conservation Administrator.
to
Good. I move that we approve the order of conditions for 30 Mill Street. DEP number 39-928 with the special and perpetual conditions.
yeah.
Draft.
I'll second.
For a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Sari?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
And I am an aye, unanimous. Good work. Let's move to,
We're doing 35 Coolidge Point X.
either of the, yep.
Okay, just scroll through
And we
the.
appreciate this preparation. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bethany.
no problem. Sorry for my my computer is kind of slow over Methuen. Okay. So here is the Manchester Conservation Commission. Here's the standard and special conditions. I think Steve, you looked at this one already. These are the ones
I did.
made for May. And this is the one that I edited it. I think I emailed it to you. This is
Yeah,
the
I
one
think
that-
you did fix that. I know that typo was fixed in the last
I
draft.
know. Hold
Okay,
on.
so we can assume that you have a draft that really works here. Actually,
Yeah.
I could probably share if you have
I
trouble.
think I'll stop sharing for a second. Just give me a second. Because I have the edited one somewhere in the mist. Sorry about that. I found it. It's called 35 Coolidge Point Draft Updated. It's fine. Okay. So same. As you see, it has been fixed. So we're going to the special conditions. Hold on. And it's like the same old, same old.
Yep.
I took out
Mitigation, storm event.
29 and the perpetual conditions. I took out 33, 34, and 35, and the herbicides, de-icing chemicals, fertilizers are still there.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Others have any changes to suggest?
Looks good.
All right, let me move. We issue an order of conditions for 35 Coolidge Point, DEP file 39-930, as drafted.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Sari?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye. Aye.
And I am an aye. Have I missed anyone? That makes it unanimous. Good. This is good. We're moving along. At
Okay,
30
this
Mill
is-
and 35 Coolidge. This is
This is
37 Bennett.
37 Bennett. This is the updated one because you looked at it, Steve, before the May 22nd meeting. So we're going right to the special
I'm
conditions.
gonna make sure it calls for removal of
28's
the debris.
taken out, 29's taken out, and perpetual conditions 33 and 34 because it's not marine. You don't need a marine contractor, obviously.
We have
and
removal of the junk.
Yeah, we need removal of the debris under
Yeah.
special.
okay, let me.
I'm not
I can
sure
just
saw
get
it.
rid of this one so we don't ruin like the number system I have going.
Yep,
Okay,
that'll
so
work.
yes. What would you guys
all,
like to see?
all existing debris piles
All existing.
will be removed from the site prior to continuing construction work from the site.
Properly disposed of, Steve?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, not just dumped into the brook.
Right.
And really, sorry, I get nervous like taking
Disposed
care
of
of people. Properly
Disposed of.
Disposed of off-site.
disposed of
Off-site.
prior
Off-site.
to continuing construction on the site.
Yep. Just add
Okay.
off-site. Add off-site to dispose
Okay.
of. Disposed of off-site.
Of off site. Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, and the last condition was about the gazebo, the perpetual one.
Yeah.
It should say be removed as well. Thank you.
No problem. And then a perpetual for the gazebo.
Yeah, what did we say? Just want to make sure it still makes sense. Further down, please.
Okay.
There was nothing
The
about
seasonal
I did.
gazebo located in the woods shall remain uncovered every year.
Singular.
Yes, from November 1 to May 1, and no alteration shall be made to its structure or to the undisturbed ground beneath it.
Good.
That pretty much gets it. Okay. Let me move, we grant an order of conditions to 37 Coolidge.
Bennett.
37 Bennett.
I'm sorry, 37 Bennett. Yeah, thank you. I could easily go off the road. I missed these guys last time too. DEP file 39931 with the special and perpetual conditions drafted. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you.
I have Manchester Housing Authority.
Okay, well, if we can do this, we'll stay within our worst case 3-hour disaster duration.
Oh, we had a we had a lot going on.
That's true. Wasn't our fault.
And this
Pages
is like
going
a
out.
same old conditions as about the, you know, the fertilizers and the
Yeah. I don't see the need for any exceptional conditions here. Does anyone?
No,
No.
be straightforward.
Good.
So they don't have mitigation plantings, am I
They
right?
have no
No.
mitigation planning.
So strike through. And then
Can go.
strike through. And then perpetual is about the fertilizer.
Yeah. There's no restoration or mitigation areas, so 36 can come out.
For 36, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Not applicable.
Strike through, okay.
And standard conditions include soil runoff, wattle,
Yeah,
Yeah, erosion control.
erosion control.
it always includes that, yeah.
And there it is. You just pass it, pass it.
Ah,
This is
erosion
dizzying.
control shall be installed per
Yeah, and there's more.
approved plans.
Just, this is a fine point, but I think we still have those two kind of overlapping or duplicative perpetual conditions. One governs fertilizer and the other governs fertilizer and pesticide. So I think we had, yeah,
Yeah,
35.
we got rid of this one because 37 goes
35
more in
duplicative,
depth.
37.
Yeah,
Right. Good.
okay.
Okay, any other changes, edits, additions?
Nope.
No, it's good.
Yay, let me move then that we issue the order of conditions for the plains. DEP file 39933 as drafted. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Suri?
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
David,
I,
Henry,
Aye.
and I am an aye. These eyes are getting more like us. Well done. 4 orders of condition.
Mm-hmm. I'll mail
Um,
those on Thursday.
Yeah. I would like a chance to revisit the orders of condition we issued previously on the culvert and the pond. And
Yeah, I can
I may,
hunt for them.
I may ask some of you to weigh in on those, and we'll handle them on July 1st. Just to check, July 1st is very close to the July 4th holiday. How many people expect they'll be here? I understand Sari will no longer be eligible.
Thank you for everything, Suri.
Thank you, Bessie.
Yeah.
Amen.
I'll miss seeing you on Thursday.
You're going, or your retirement present is that you don't have to attend any of these meetings.
I know
Although
that.
you're always welcome as a special guest.
Oh, thank you. No, I just want to go on the site visits.
We'll let you know.
You can be my company site visit.
Special alum
Good.
site
Forward to
visitor.
seeing-
Steve,
Yes, Beth.
I know like Mark was like ready to speak about the budget, but I know it's kind of late.
He's still there. Away.
Well,
Is he still
unless
there?
anyone-
He's
yeah,
there.
Mark is here.
Yes,
Unless
I-
anyone has a burning anyone has a burning desire to hear the update on the budget. I think
Well-
between Mark and I, we now have it.
Yes.
Anything urgent there, Mark?
No, the only thing is you have money in your account, $30,000 in your revolving fund. It is virtually impossible to decipher the accounting sheets that the town sends us, so we had to send an email to Andrea, who sent us the figure. So I will
Good.
sit down with her and try and decipher those later. I've done it before, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like a riot of bad double entry bookkeeping where negatives mean positives and
Yeah.
positives don't mean anything. And
I gave Mark the task of where does our filing fees go? Where does the bylaw filing
I think
fees
we've
go?
got it. I'm just looking to see if there's anything urgent on my list. Well, we are still eligible to meet entirely by Zoom, although you heard one person complain that doesn't work, and that will actually be the first time I have heard an objection from an applicant, and a butter, a consultant, or any of you guys. So I maintain to the select board that it's not broken, you don't need to fix it, which is exactly what Jack Burke said about CPC.
And they've said
The only
okay.
argument in favor. Sorry?
And they've said okay.
They have said, we'll decide in the future. In true select board fashion, they kicked the can down the road a ways. The only argument for it, and this is maintained by one of the select board members, is that you can't arrive at a good decision unless you get face to face, particularly where there's controversy. That people hide on Zoom.
And we see how many people on Zoom
False.
don't even
Yeah.
show their face.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of hiding. Okay, there's also a matter from Manchester Marine, but I will contact each of you individually, so not to violate the open meeting law, to take your temperature on that. Simply a matter of, do they need a complete new NOI or a full-fledged amendment to their existing NOI? We'll get to that. I think that might be it. Anybody else have a burning issue that could pass Henry's
Do we,
over 3 hours?
so we have time for the July 1st meeting to finalize the Central Street.
Yeah. We can vote them up front in the July 1st meeting and be inside it'll be the 21st day.
Yeah, okay.
And Sari, can you give us a few dates you might like to join us for drinks somewhere?
Yeah.
Like Beauport.
Yeah, someplace you like to go.
Let's take this offline, Olga. I'll have to look at my calendar.
Got it.
There's been an outcry for that quietly. And
So
Olga is the
I'll
designated
move-
coordinator.
And
I
an
move that
outcry
we-
about using commission time to plan drinking parties?
Yeah,
No, that'll probably come after someone looks at all 3 hours.
Not
of
at
tape.
9:28.
Olga, I think there was something you wanted to say.
yes, I do. I move that we adjourn. It's so late. Henry's eyes are gone.
I think that Sari should second that.
I'll second.
I just loved Henry, this look from Henry as the testimony went on. All right, absent objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for the effort.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for moving it along.
Good night.